Another 10 seconds.
Okay.
There it goes. Okay.
Okay. All right. Great. So I think what we're going to do here is I'm going to go over a presentation I put together that's going to provide updates on what we've been doing or what has been done and some of the things that we have yet to do with regards to the water treatment plant. So we're going to focus on water only on this call. So I'm going to share the screen. I'll go through the presentation. It's about 11 slides, and then we'll take questions afterwards. But I'm leaving folks on the committee. I'm going to allow you to chime in if needed during the presentation. But let's try to keep all questions towards the end. Just do one quick look here. Jennifer Castellano, thanks for joining.
Evening. Thank you for organizing.
Okay. Yeah, let's see who. Okay. So let me go ahead and I don't know if Bill. Oh, it says William's iPhone. Is that Bill Bright?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, great. Hi, Bill. Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right, so thanks everyone for joining tonight. I put together a few slides here. We're going to run through this, try to go through it fairly quickly, and at a high level, give a presentation of where we are, some of the updates of what's been done, and some next steps. So the agenda I put together, these are the items. We'll talk about the committee. We'll talk about the New York State electric and gas utility issues, operations and maintenance, financials. I'm not going to go into detail on the financials, just cover some major points. Files are made available on the town website. I'll show where that location is. And then we'll talk about the THM project and the funding for that project and the grant, short-term, long-term plans, and then the communications and notifications process going forward. So let me start with the Oakridge Water District Committee. So we put together a committee so that we have ongoing communications between the town and the water district. And it'll provide updates, transparency on everything that's going on. And in front of you, you see the members of that committee. So in terms of the residential population, we have Erica Agro, Jeff Holbrook, and Robin Gersten. Phil Pine is covering the commercial side, and then the property manager Mike Lombardo as well, who couldn't be here tonight. And from this town of Lewisboro side, it's myself, Peter Parsons, and Joe Smith.
And Jen.
And Jen Castellano?
Yes, isn't she on?
Not on the committee, but.
Oh, okay.
But she can join if she wants. That's okay. Unless, well, I'll let Jen, Jen, if you are still unmuted. Did I miss something? Hold on. Jen
Maybe
Castellano.
I saw things.
Jen, were you supposed to be on this committee?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's what I thought. Okay.
Just participating because it's a big issue.
Right. Okay, so let's dive right in and talk about New York State Electric. So we've had issues. A lot of the issues that we've had are a result of not so much these long-term outages. Yes, we have the outages that have occurred with storms. They're not as bad, and if anyone has any different opinion, please share it maybe towards the end. But it's not as bad as it used to be. What has gotten worse is these intermittent short outages. And according to NYSEG, they're blaming that on these recloser units, which have been installed to prevent long duration outages. So if there's a branch touching a wire that causes that circuit to shut down, these recloser units will confirm that it's safe to turn the circuit back on. And that's done within seconds typically. So we had an issue with we had NYSEG investigate as to why this is happening, and they did indicate that the recloser needed adjustments. So adjustments were made on August 25th to reduce the sensitivity. We've had them install recording equipment on September 3rd at the water plant and at the Vista Fire Department to monitor and log any of these outages. And we're going to continue monitoring those and logging and recording the activity on that circuit. And this is the circuit that comes from Pound Ridge. It's called the Pound Ridge 455 circuit. And since that the adjustments have been made based on the information I've gotten from the water plant, where they have the ability to log, and Erica has also been logging outages. We experienced a brief outage on 9/12 and another one on 9/13. And those are, again, very short. NYSEG is ready to take a look at those logs, but we agreed, because they would have to remove the recording equipment before the end of this week because it gets overwritten after about 3 weeks. So we agreed to let the equipment stay there for another few weeks and see if any of these short outages occur again and get logged. So we're doing that. So we have the equipment on site. It's logging the activity on the circuit, and we'll take a look at any future outages that may occur.
Tony,
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt. I hate to interrupt
That's
you.
okay.
We had an outage the other day.
When you say the other day, when was that?
The night before last.
Yes, at
Yes,
like
and so-
4:30 in the morning or something.
Yes, and I think I emailed everyone the information I got from, or everyone in the committee. That was a result of storm damage on that Pound Ridge circuit. So it was made. There were outages in Golden's Bridge as well. Outages in Pound Ridge related to that circuit. So that was because of the storm. It wasn't anything to do with the recloser units.
Okay.
Okay. Tree trimming. They have completed the tree trimming in August. And by the way, I did invite NYSEG to this call. And they weren't able to make it. Part of it is because of the storm that went through, and they're still recovering from that. There's certain areas of their in their footprint got hit pretty hard, especially north of us. But they did agree to attend a future meeting in a few weeks, possibly, or at least have a quick conference call with a few of us to discuss the next item, which is their upgrades on the Pound Ridge 455 circuit. So their resiliency team in spring of 2021, next year, will begin those significant upgrades. They couldn't tell me what that means. So as soon as they get that information in terms of what that significant upgrade entails, we will have a call with them. They will join us on a call to provide detail on that. So hopefully all good news with this. We should see diminished outages or these intermittent outages, and hopefully that'll be the case. But they're aware that this is important. The Pound Ridge circuit has been a circuit that's troubled them, especially with all the trees on the Pound Ridge side. And they're still having some issues with folks where, they have to get on private property to trim some trees, and folks not allowing them. But we continue to press them to do as much as they can, and to help them as much as possible to get their job done. Plant operations and maintenance, so some brief notes here, and then maybe I'll have Tyler talk to anything specific. Tyler, are you still on?
Yes, I'm still on.
Okay, good. So basically, we have, and again at a high level, we're sourcing water from 5 wells, and those wells we know are high in iron and manganese, and that's being treated by the chemical systems that are in the water plant. We are doing system flushing. It's been 2 times per year. There is consideration to doing it once a quarter, and I'll get a little more into that, I think, on the next slide. We have chemical systems which are used, coupled with the newly installed SCADA control system that will mitigate the THMs, which is a trihalomethanes, if it's called. Iron, manganese, maintains pH value, bacteria, etc. Water is tested daily at the entry point to the distribution to the district. And part of that includes verification of the clarity of the water and verification of proper removal of contaminants. And I want to add here also that VRI, we do have new talent working there. So Tyler happens to be one of the new folks assigned to work at the plant. And we welcome Tyler to the water district, and he's been great in communicating to us and working closely with us to make sure that everything's working as it should. The plant and operations maintenance, this is a continuing slide. So there is a plan in place, which I can display on the screen here real quick. And this is what Tyler put together here. Let me just share this page. Hold on a second here. Okay. Okay. So this is the Oakridge water treatment plant inspection and maintenance. And I'm not going to go through all of this. And again, this information will be posted on the website. I'll show you everyone the location. But basically, this is the maintenance that's performed on a regular basis at the plant. And if Tyler, if you want to jump in on any of these and further elaborate, feel free to do so.
Sure. Like Tony was just saying, this is all maintenance items, mostly preventative maintenance that are performed on a daily, weekly to monthly, or even quarterly basis for all our equipment, from our wells to the sand filters, the booster pumps, chemical pumps, and other equipment in the plant.
Yeah, so
and then at the bottom there, there's some, but that's what was referred to earlier as the entry point testing. At the bottom, it listed some items that are tested daily that are the key ones that we're looking for daily to ensure proper treatment.
Mm-hmm. Okay, like I said, I will post this on the page that we've set up on the town website. So if everyone can view this, and if you have any questions, you can always follow up with myself via email. So let me go back to presentation. Okay. So yeah, the system flushing. So we had, if you recall, back on August 17th, we had some reports of discoloration. It was determined to be attributed to the sediment that's in the mains, that's been collected in the mains, and primarily the high amounts of iron and manganese. The system was flushed on August 25th, and then it was agreed to do it again on September 16th. What we did find out is that in prior flushings that were done, the flushing rates weren't as they used to be, because not all pumps were used to provide the optimal flushing velocity. So with these last two flushings, we are now flushing at greater than 750 gallons per minute by using both the booster pumps and the jockey pumps within the water plant to achieve the scouring velocity. So what this does is it's flushing out the sediment that's collected in the mains, and it's also scouring the interior of the mains. There are still issues with the dead ends of the water distribution system, which will require flushing hydrants. And it's been proposed by Bill Bright and VRI to install manually operated flushing hydrants at these dead ends. And we're working on that process now to design and obtain bids, and then schedule the installation. And in the future, we have to decide, depending on how that goes. I mean, we feel, and in talking to both Bill and Tyler, we feel that with the flushing that we've done, and by increasing the flushing, which again, we're going from twice a year to 4 times a year, potentially, and I believe that needs to get Department of Health approval. We believe that the water clarity and quality will be much better, and you're not going to experience the brown water. That is the goal here, or the discoloration of the water. We will then decide if looping or automatic flushing is needed. So the automatic flushing, basically, we're going to start off with the manual flushing. And if we see that, manually operating those flushing hydrants at these dead ends at a determined frequency is sufficient, then we don't need to install the automatic. And we probably would not need the looping. And the looping, what that is the system, the distribution system at the dead ends of the piping network will tend to collect sediment. That's why we're putting these flushing valves or flushing hydrants there. But by looping the pipe, you're then causing that water to flow and circulate more so than it does now. And Bill, if you want to chime in on any of this, feel free.
I would. I think doing the installing the dead end flushing valves is something we should do as soon as possible. We certainly will have to get a verbal approval from the health department, but I don't think Wayne will have a problem with that. I wouldn't take looping off the table, though. I would still think that installing looping would be a part of a bigger package of improvements that, like we were talking this afternoon, that I would still add and include in a future project.
Okay. Yeah, and we did talk about that. So yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a few. Yeah, go ahead.
A loop system provides, you have you're constantly getting new water in a loop system, as opposed to in a dead end system, the water can age and be older. And like we talked about over in Kona Valley, the THM issue is really, it's a water age issue, and it's because it's far away and it's a dead end.
Right.
So I wouldn't take looping off the table, but certainly it's not as important as getting those dead end flushing hydrants in and starting a regular flushing program. Starting off, I would say weekly, and then see how often you have to do it to maintain water clarity.
Right. Okay.
Could I
Well,
jump
are
in
we
and ask a
kidding
question?
ourselves by not including the looping right at the beginning?
Wait.
Well, looping, to do looping, we certainly are going to have to do a design change and go through the health department. I believe I can get flushing hydrants installed with a verbal. So
Okay,
that's why I want to put the flushing hydrants in right away. Certainly any change, any structural changes we make to the distribution system should include looping.
all right.
I think this might be Jeff Holbrook. It's coming across as Joellen Holbrook raised his
Yes.
hand. So Jeff, if that's you, I've asked you to unmute.
Oh, that's okay. I don't have anything specific to say now. I just wanted to make sure I could. Although
Okay.
on the topic of looping, before we spend any money on that, I'd want to fully investigate whether we can get the water some better way.
Right. Okay. Okay. There's another hand up, Noel.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
We had two comments. This past weekend, I think on about the 28th or 27th, we found brown water after the flushing that was on 25th in Oakridge condos. Also, where are the dead ends that you're talking about? Is the dead end in Vista, or where did it end that are having problems?
Yeah, these are dead ends within the complex, within the Oakridge condos. And I'll let Bill. Actually, I think I have a separate document that I think mentions those dead ends. I can put that up on the screen. Or I'll tell you what. Let's wait because I'm going to review that document separately.
Yeah, that's fine. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that those two issues get somehow addressed at some point.
Thank you. Agreed. Okay. Okay, so let me go back to the slide presentation here. Okay. Okay, so, and everyone's seeing the PowerPoint, right? The plan I want to make sure it's still visible to everyone, the screen share.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right, financials. So we've put out there, and I had shared this with Erica. She had requested it. The P&L results available for 2019 and 2020. The 2020 adopted budget. Oakridge Water is on page 37 of that document. I'm not going to go to detail on this call. The documents are out on the website. Again, I'll show everyone the location. If anyone wants to review them and you have any other questions, questions related, let us know. Leo Masterson, our controller, was not able to attend this evening. So if there are any specific questions about the budget or the P&L, we can take that up with Leo. Leo did share with me, and I put that here, that regarding the bond anticipation notes, there are two that are outstanding. One issued in 2003 for $574,000, or remaining is $574,000, and it matures in 2043. The second one issued in 2019 with $482,500 outstanding, matures in 2059. The second one was issued in conjunction with the New York State WIA grant, which is the grant that's going to provide us with the $289,500 for the THM project, which is still ongoing. And I have another slide that will go into more detail about that. Both of these bands are repriced annually, and the current interest rate is 1.15%. Okay, regarding the trihalomethane project and the grant, a little background. So THMs were found in small amounts in the water in 2016 into 2017. THMs had been removed, but the upgrades were needed to ensure that they would not recur, and it was also required by state regulations. The town board authorized the bonding of $482,500, and the bonding was a prerequisite for the grant, for applying for the grant. The initial grant application was submitted in 2018. It was rejected in December 2018, and we reapplied in 2019 and received the grant approval in December of 2019. And this is a summary of that of the work associated with the THM project. On the left side are the improvements. So we have the water tank aeration, which is currently in process, and Delaware and VRI are working with the Westchester County Health Department. And I know, Bill, you sent me something. I didn't get a chance to read it.
It was just the resubmission of the latest round of comments from back and forth with the DOH.
Right. And so that's in process, and hopefully, I don't think we have an ETA yet, right? Is that correct, Bill?
Well, the chemical feed system that project's closed out. That's done.
No, I'm talking about the aeration. The
aeration, we're still dotting I's, crossing T's, going.
Okay.
The next step, once we get the approval, will be to prepare the bid package and go out to bid.
Right. Okay. And then after that, we have the SCADA upgrades. So SCADA is it's the control system that's used to, and Tyler or Bill, you can chime in here, but it's to maintain the chemical levels within the system.
Well, it actually controls, the upgrade we did was both the water and the sewer SCADA. So it actually upgraded and modernized both SCADAs. The water did not have a SCADA system before. The sewer did, but there was a lot of problems with the old SCADA and the old supplier, and it was getting obsolete, as these things do quickly.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the new SCADA actually controls the equipment in the wastewater plant, and it controls the equipment in the water plant as well.
Right. Okay. So we had, and again, the numbers are for the aeration, 179,000, for the skate upgrades, 111,000. The skate is completed. The total dispersed for that component was 146,000. I didn't get a chance to find out why there's that difference, but
Because, yeah, I think that includes the chemical feed system as well.
okay, okay. So I'll make sure to make a note of that.
Mhm.
Okay. And I know that, oops. Yeah, I know that Leo's been working with Robert Flores on your end.
Yep, yep. We still have retainage to pay to the electrical contractor and the SCADA contractor, I believe, and maybe even the chemical feed company.
Right. Okay, so some of that 48,500 in the chemical feed line item is included in that SCADA.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, the 146 includes both SCADA and chemical feed system.
Ah, okay. Okay, so we're actually under budget for those two
Well,
items?
no, we have retainage to pay.
Okay, got it. Oops.
Bill, are we going to come in under or not?
I have no idea yet. I don't
That's
know.
a weak answer, with due respect.
No, I don't know.
Well, so that, yeah, leads to the next item, the granulated activated carbon filters, GAC.
Yeah.
We have that as 32,000.
Yeah, and we don't believe that that's a good investment right now.
Okay. Mhm.
We believe that the THM the THMs should be addressed with the aeration system.
Okay.
And frankly, I'd rather repurpose the tanks that were there from the beginning
Right.
I'd rather use them as remember we were talking about the mixed tank on the raw, Tony?
Yes.
I'd rather convert them into that mixed tank, those mixed tanks, to
Mhm.
increase the contact time,
Okay.
so we can improve and improve the detention time for the chemicals to be in contact with the raw water,
Right.
to ensure that we're precipitating 100% of the manganese.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that. Yeah. So we'll more to
But
come
that's
on
not
that.
a sure thing. That's something we have to work out with the health department.
Right. Right. Okay. And then we have for engineering, we had 56,000 total dispersed 81,000. Again, I don't have the accounting for the difference in that.
Mhm.
But there was a contingency amount as well of 56,000. So some of that may have come out of that contingency line item.
And some of I'll have to talk to Leo about it, but I know some of the SCADA upgrade is actually may be charged to sewer.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah, we'll confirm that with Leo.
Yeah.
Okay. And these were just some additional notes I did receive from Leo. There's, hold on. These were Avanti and Black. Black is the electrical
contractor, and Avanti
Right.
is the
SCADA.
Avanti is the SCADA and chemical feed company.
Right. Okay. And those two payments have not yet been dispersed. Okay. So short-term and long-term plans. So we talked about the more frequent system flushes quarterly. And Tyler, when will we make a decision on that? And we do need to get health department approval, correct?
Approval, yes. They more or less want a flushing plan. They're not too particular on that stuff. I mean,
Okay.
if we were going to do less flushing, I think they would be, but more flushing, they're not really going to have an issue with. So it's just a matter of getting them a flushing plan saying we want to move to quarterly for these reasons, and they'll be on board.
Right. Okay. And then
So
we
it's pretty much in the works now. We planned on flushing towards the end of this year one last time, and then from then on moving quarterly. So like you said, our last flush was September 16th. So we pretty much want to get that into effect right away.
Right. Okay. And then we spoke about the flushing hydrants on the dead ends, the manually operated ones. So that's
Yeah, we'll reach out to Wayne and see what exactly he wants from us. I know when we did the flushing hydrant at Conan, it was a verbal approval.
Right. Okay.
So,
And just so everyone is aware, Wayne is with the Westchester County Health Department. And tank aeration, so that's the other item that's in the works. Long-term, yeah, the possibility of automatic flushing, flush hydrants on the dead-end loops. We talked about alternative water source. So I initiated a discussion with Aquarian Water, who serves some of the water districts in Connecticut. They are open to discussing with us potentially being a source of water so that we don't have to utilize our wells. They were going to have some internal discussions and get back to me this month. And we were going to set up a call to further discuss. So I will keep everyone posted on how that progresses. And then we have the Delaware Engineering Improvements, which I'll actually bring up that document and we'll step through it real quick here. Let's see if I can find it here. This is, okay, let me just open. I thought I had it open already, but did not. Here it is. Okay. Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay, so here on the screen now are the recommended water system improvements that Delaware had recommended, and I'm going to focus on there's 17 of them. So I'll run through this real quickly, and then we broke them out by critical versus recommended. The aeration system, again, that's what's in progress. Chemical feed pumps, some already replaced, and so this is in the works. Number 3, the automatic flushing valves, again, recommended, but the first phase are manual valves. Phase 2, potentially automatic, but they may not be necessary. Number 4 were the dead end loops. And so to Noel, to your question, this lists out the areas where those dead end loops are. So you can see that here. And that gives you a little more detail. And again, I'm going to put this on the website so everyone can access it at their leisure. So again, it's recommended. We will revisit whether this is needed after the flushing valves and hydrants are installed. And maybe this will be part of a larger project, to Bill's point earlier. Installation of flushing valve in water closet of each building is recommended, but it may not be needed. So I just want to skip through that here. Perform water sewer rate analysis. This is another recommendation. It's not critical to the operations, but we're going to keep this on our radar. It's basically a way to ensure water conservation, understand how much water is actually being used, and then determine rates from there. Number 7 is a critical item. Near term, it's to install a redundant high volume pump. Presently, there's only one, which has reached its useful life and is being replaced. In fact, I think it has been replaced already. Is that correct, Tyler?
Yes, that's correct. It was replaced,
okay. Right.
I believe, in July.
Right. So yeah, so this will be again installation of a redundant high volume pump. So again, we're gonna in talking to Bill earlier, we're looking at packaging some of these items into a larger project, and then pursue some funding for that. Number 8 is repiping the pressure system with stainless steel pipe, and adding a second jockey pump to ensure redundant backup. And again, this is a critical long-term, should be seriously considered in conjunction with number 7, and the design needs to be approved by Westchester County Department of Health. So again, 7 and 8 and also 9 would probably be packaged as one project. And I have a couple of raised hands. So Noel, I'll let you go ahead and ask your question, ask you to unmute.
Yes, hi. I just have a question about the quarterly flushing recommendation. So the more, I assume that the more you flush, the better our quality of water will be. Why is it, I mean, could we go to a monthly? What's the difference? Is it a cost issue? Is it a environmental issue? What determines the periodic frequency of?
Right. I'll let Tyler answer that question. I don't think it's a cost or environmental, but go ahead, Tyler.
It was more a matter of, instead of going from twice a year to every single month, and to just go from twice a year to quarterly and see if that would be beneficial. And then if needed, we can go to a more, we could flush on a more frequent basis, but it will just be, it may be a convenience issue as well for some residents, you know, because I know not everyone's too excited about when we have to flush and the pressure gets down, and then subsequently you'll have some, or may have some dirty water after the flushing, because that's the purpose, is to scour the lines, get everything out, but there may be some left over. So it's just a matter of going from twice a year to quarterly, and then if quarterly doesn't seem to be working, then we can move to a monthly. We just didn't want to jump there right away. I didn't feel it was necessary.
Yeah, and I think, you know, based on, you know, I had a conversation with Bill about this. So prior to the last 2 flushings, we were not flushing at the flow rate that was really needed to scour the pipes and get rid of any of the loose sediment. So now that we're doing that, and we've done it twice already, hopefully we won't require as much flushing going forward, and the water will stay, there won't be an opportunity for sediment to collect, put it that way. Jeff Holbrook, you have a question? Jeff, I asked you.
Hi,
Okay, go ahead.
I'd never seen this number 6 before, this rate analysis. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so that was in Bill's, the original. So this is from that original list that when we had our committee call, a few, you know, 3 months ago, maybe. And I can let Bill, it was part of his original list that he provided to us. But Bill, maybe you can speak to that.
Well, we've always had complaints from the people in Conant Valley about how the rates were originally determined to be billed, and the way this particular rate's different probably than the other municipalities that we work with. Just the way that it's billed, the closer a rate that the price per gallon, so where customers are understand that the more water they use, the more it costs them. That is usually how most water rate is established. The other, I mean, a part of this was to use this new technology for meter reading. They're real-time meters. And what that does is it provides instantaneous data. So when a homeowner has a leak, and it shows up pretty dramatically right away. So
so that makes
I don't
sense.
remember. I don't know when these meters were last changed out, but usually after 10 years, meters have to be recalibrated or changed. So
Okay, I mean, and maybe I could talk to you offline about that. The issue in Conan Valley, I don't know if the issue was so much with the metered rates, but with the way the repayment to the bonds was calculated based on assessed value rather than usage. So I know this is not a top priority, but I might be able to give a point of view on that help.
Yeah, I think I was more, if we're gonna, I mean, eventually we're gonna have to replace meters, and if we're gonna replace meters, uh, uh, what we have found is that the real-time meter reading provides a real good benefit to the water customer and to the people operating the facility, because you can identify leaks pretty much very quickly, and you can tell, you can do a very good comparison of water sold versus water pumped, so you can identify leaks much quicker. It's been a good tool in the other systems that we've seen.
Okay, so yeah, and Jeff, we can always have, if you want to have a separate conversation about that, we can certainly do that. Let's see, we were here, let me just move this participant screen out of the way. Okay, the installation of hydro pneumatic tanks to maintain pressure and augment pump operations. It's a recommendation, and it allows for pumps to shut off and absorb the water hammer effect, thus eliminating turbidity. So when pumps shut off, they tend to create water hammer, which is pressure differentials within the system. And so potentially this could be done in conjunction with 7 and 8 above, and be part of that bigger project. And I think, Bill, it's recommended, it's not critical, but I know it's.
Yeah, it would be a definite improvement.
Right.
And it would give us something we don't have now. I mean, right now when the pumps during the water outages, the power outages, when the pumps all kick on, it creates there's a surge that goes through the system, mm-hmm. and disturbs whatever sediment may be in the system. Right. With a hydropneumatic tank, you have an air buffer. Air compresses, water doesn't. So it takes the shock out of the instantaneous flow that the pumps when the pumps come on. So right. It would really reduce the changes of velocity through the system.
Right.
And it would really, where it would make the most difference, I think, is in those short outages that we're seeing, the blips, the on-offs. If NYSEG can't ever really solve that issue, we're going to have to come up with something to deal with it, and that's right. One way to deal with it.
Right. Okay. And number 10, design and install new HVAC system. So it's not necessarily an installation of a new heating, ventilation, air conditioning, but it's a recommendation to install a dehumidifier. So one idea is to install an industrial dehumidifier in the plant, or one of those split AC systems, which are more or less expensive than a central AC system. And that's to control the excess humidity that's in the plant today. And that's a recommendation as well. Recoat all piping and tanks within water treatment facilities is a critical item. And it's a matter of painting the filter equipment in the plant.
When is that going to get done?
We haven't scheduled it, but this is something that we need to work on doing. I don't know if Tyler or Bill, if you want to chime in.
Well, we have to address the humidity issue, or wait for another month or two until. Well, actually, October is a good month for painting. It's probably the lowest humidity that we're going to get, but we're going to need to dehumidify in there to paint. That's the point, okay. And to get it dry.
Okay.
So are you gonna get it done?
That's up to the board to approve that.
Yeah,
We would have to get a price from Tyler would have to get some pricing, or come up with
Yeah.
just to paint the filters. Probably we could get a price from VRI to do that. I would imagine. I don't think that would be. But you're gonna have to purchase an industrial
dehumidifier.
That's for
Right.
sure.
Okay.
I mean, because when I see an item and it says critical, near term, ASAP, we have to do that.
Right.
Yep.
Correct. And that's why, yeah, we reviewed this list a couple days ago. And so, yeah, as a result of that review, we now need to act on these critical items.
Yeah.
Yep. The other one, number 12, is a recommendation for investigating the need for a mixing tank to ensure all chemicals in raw water is properly mixed for optimal chemical treatment.
Yeah, I've already started that. I mean, I believe the most cost-effective thing to do is to rehabilitate and repurpose those the fiberglass pressure vessels that are in the plant, and convert them into mixing tanks.
Right.
But I have to. That's something that I have to first solve the GAC issue with DOH, and once we resolve that issue, then we'll be able to submit a plan to repurpose them. And it's just, I mean, it's a fairly simple piping change.
Right. So you would use those the containers that we have
Yep.
at the site today.
Yep.
That are not being used.
That's right. I would put a media. I'd put like 1/2-inch stone in them, and I would feed the raw water through them before the mixed media filters.
Okay. And the note I have here is that when we spoke about including this with 7, 8, and 9 above,
Yep.
and it would be part of a water quality project, which would entitle us for a grant, but the
Yep.
next grant application isn't until June of next year.
That's correct.
Okay, number 13, provide feedback data. Oh, go ahead.
We could certainly do that repurposing and run it as a pilot to prove. I mean, I'm sure it's going to work, but that way we can qualify it. It can qualify for a grant. We would do a temporary piping to it, and then permanently pipe it in as a part of a water quality project.
Okay.
Bill, that's good, because we need to find a way of paying for as much of this as we can.
Yep.
And I guess the one column missing on these 2 pages of 17 improvements is an estimate, and I really mean an estimate of your belief in what each one is going to cost.
Yep.
And then we need to reduce that to a short list of what we feel we should do now. And then we can put that out to bid, presumably. And also apply for money from wherever.
Yeah, the WIA grants for water are 60%. Usually they'll pay for 60% of the project as long as we can show it's for water quality improvements. WIA doesn't provide drinking water monies for main replacement or things like that, capital improvements, unless they can be shown to be that they're being used to improve water quality.
Well, as far as I can see, everything on your list has got the objective of improving water quality.
That's correct.
Bill, quick question. This is Erica. I just want to make sure I understood you correctly. Are you saying you want to repurpose the GAC filters for something else? So use the fiberglass housing for something else?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm a little bit confused because I'm looking back at your recommendations from April 2017, and you were proposing at that time to convert those filters into GAC filters.
Yep.
So now you're saying you don't want to use them as GAC filters?
That's correct.
What
We-
made you change your mind?
What's changed is that we're well below the MCL for THM, and we haven't even installed the aeration system yet. And what we were going to do with the GAC filters is we were only going to use them for removing total organic carbon, TOC. And it was kind of a stopgap. I mean, back when we made that recommendation, we were still violating, and we had no clue where the precursors were coming from. We still don't know where they came from, but they're not here anymore. I mean, the bromides that were actually causing the problem have left us. They're not a part of the raw water anymore. So we were in a completely different mindset at that point. We were throwing everything at the wall to try to come up with a way to reduce and to bring the entry point water. Well, the entry point's always been in compliance to lower the organics enough so that we weren't producing THMs in the distribution system. Since we're already there, we're not even aerating yet. We believe the aeration is going to dramatically reduce the precursors as well. And if after we do that, we still have a or if we have a new THM issue arise down the road, the next recommendation would be to put granular activated carbon on the entry point after filtration, not before. That's the correct place to filter with granular activated carbon. Understand that these filters are undersized for the flow, and even if we were to use them as we had recommended, we would only be able to filter between 25 and 46,000 gallons a day through them. So it wasn't ever going to be able to treat 100% of the water. And then the other thing is GAC, the granular activated carbon, is not a best available technology for TOC reduction. It actually only reduces the TOC 25 to 30, 40% when you're, best case. So we were only going to be able to reduce the TOC, say 30% in 25 to 30,000 gallons per day. So it really, it really was, it was just, we have these filters, let's put carbon in them and start using them right away. Well, you can never do anything fast. They wouldn't let us do it right away. All right. Our recommendation really was to get them up and running as fast as we could. We had to do a whole series of tests on the filters, on granular activated carbon. We had to pick the type of carbon. They made us do a 12. When I say they, I mean Westchester County Health Department. We had to do a test on our drinking water, running it through the carbon that we would be using, and that the test alone cost us $12,000 just to do that test. And in the end, by the time we were done, everything else we had done had reduced the THMs low enough and to where we're not in violation, and we haven't been in violation since I don't know, more than 2 years now. So.
Well, Bill, thank you. I have to interject again because I'm looking at that same proposal, and you just said GAC is not a best available technology for the treatment of precursors.
No. I said GAC is not a best available technology for the removal of total organic carbon. it
Okay.
is the best available technology for the removal of TTHMs.
For the
Yeah,
precursors of TTHMs.
Erica, if you look at number 16 on this list, we identified that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if in the future we have another issue with THMs, that the aeration, and I doubt this, but that the aeration isn't solving, and that we decide that we want to put granular activated carbon as a a final means of filtration on our final water, that would it'll require that's a much larger project. The filters will probably be 6-7 foot diameter filters. We don't even have room for them in the plant. We'd have to build an addition onto the plant to install those filters. So using the old filters, which are, I don't know, original to the plant, probably put in the 80s, are probably not I don't believe that it's the best use of it right now. I think the best use of those containers will be to provide us with the contact time we need to oxidize 100% of all the manganese and remove it through filtration, so none of it ever makes it into the distribution system.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll just continue here. The next item was 13, provide feedback data from the wells to the SCADA that confirms each well is operating and pumping water. Again, this is a recommendation, not critical to current operations. Number 14, replace wooden roof on storage tank with a metal roof. It was a recommendation. The health department may require this be done sooner than later, but right now it's not something that's urgent to the operations of the plant. And one idea that Bill had was maybe we just epoxy coat the existing concrete roof.
Yeah, what everyone needs to understand is that the storage tank has a concrete roof on it. What they didn't like was that there were puddles on the roof, and that's why the wooden roof was installed. I think there's probably a better way to do that, maybe with some leveling concrete and putting a pitch on that roof with a little leveling concrete, and then epoxy coating it and not even having a wooden or a metal structure on it.
Okay, so we can excuse me, we can actually, if that's something that we could do, within the, maybe the maintenance department. It doesn't take much, right, to put in leveling concrete. But we'll look at that. But as long as the Westchester County Health Department stays quiet about this, it's not an urgent issue to be concerned about. Number 15, install chemical storage and containment as requested by the health department. It's a recommendation. Again, not critical to operations. And the number 16 is what we just spoke about, the GAC, granular activated carbon filters. Again, may not be required. The aeration may be sufficient. We'll run it for 6 months and then make a determination. To Bill's point, if GAC filters are required, we have to expand the building and put in larger containment vessels to treat 100% of the water.
Well, the other thing is that granular activated carbon is the go-to media for water treatment. It's pretty magical, actually. It removes volatile organics. It removes radon. It removes PFASs. It removes so many contaminants. So oftentimes owners of public water supplies elect to put GAC filters on their final, after all the treatment, they put GAC in as a means to guarantee 100% removal of anything that might occur or come into the aquifer in the future. So that's just, I mean, we're installing a lot of GAC filters in a lot of different places these days. And that's, I put it in there because I could see the people using the water at some point deciding that that's what they want to do.
I have Simone had a question. Simone?
Yes, first I'd like to say thank you, Tony, for even taking this on, and to Erica, who I've had several conversations with, and she's so on target. I'm thrilled that Jen Castellano found this important enough to attend, because I think clean water in 2020 that's safe to drink is really something that should be a given in Westchester County, where the taxes are so high. I'm listening to all these recommendations, and then people are referring to recommendations they had in 2017. My mother's lived there for 18 years. I'm lugging water up on a daily. And it sounds like if some recommendations were made in 2017, which already is too late because we're talking about at least 2 decades I know of. And it doesn't seem like anything really has been resolved, and it's now 2020. I'm really concerned with how long this is going to take, if it's going to happen, if people are going to lose interest. I think there's about 55 people on this meeting, why this meeting is separate from a regular town board meeting. And also this thing with the bacteria, the iron, the high manganese. If we have undersized filters, it just seems like it's going to be almost impossible to get the right work done if they're only doing half of what they're supposed to do. So it sounds like we have a lot to kind of get through to resolve this. I'm happy we're talking about it. What's the long-term plan? Is it going to be another 20 years? And also my final comment is the Westchester Department of Health is on here. Where have you been for 20 years? That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, so Simone, I could probably answer real quick a couple of the things you mentioned. So 2017 was when the THMs were first noted or noticed in the water, 2016 to 17. They were mitigated, but in order to maintain that mitigation, we needed to put in a system to do that. And this is what was pursued with the grant that was rejected in 2018 and then was reapplied for in 2019. So that's in terms of, so the THMs had already been, and correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but they had been mitigated even prior to this work.
Is there a date, a target date that people will have safe drinking water at Oakridge?
The water right now meets Part 5, meets the standards of the New York State Health Department under Part 5, which is the.
I've tried the water. It's disgusting. I'd love for the health department to come and drink it.
Yeah, I mean, that's I've spoken to people who who drink it. And they said it's fine. I know that the discoloration is an issue, and again, that's due to the turbidity of sediment in the system, and that's getting resolved. So hopefully the discoloration will no longer be an issue, especially after we do these the flush hydrant installations. And yeah, and the I'm just looking at the list. There's a couple of other hands that went up. So yeah, so again, I count on the health department to, they are there testing on a regular basis, and we'll be able to provide those test results and post them on the website as we get them. I'm going to jump to Fernando, who has his hand up.
I just want to make a quick comment in reference to the roof that we were talking about there. As part of the aeration system upgrade, if everything gets approved and we're able to move forward with that, there's going to have to be some ventilation equipment and so on and so forth that's going to have to get installed. So, at that point as well, and prior to that, there should be a serious consideration as to, what we finalize as far as what we're going to do with the roof, whether it's, regrading with the concrete or another structure. Just as a reference for everyone, that's something that, is something that could be looked at and should, within the very near future.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Fernando. I have Robin Leganzowski. You have a question?
Hi. I just wanted to ask if basically time is of the essence now just to get this done. Why wouldn't you flush every month to start and then back down from that? Why wouldn't you want to reach the result sooner? And then, then maybe go to every other month and then back down to a quarter so that you can get this done.
Yeah, so we actually did, and I'll let Tyler add more to this, but we did an August 26th flush and then a September 16th flush, both at the high pressure or high flow rate, which we believe cleaned out a lot of what was in the mains. But I'll let Tyler answer that question in more detail.
Yeah, so the reasoning behind that is that we feel that we are very confident that the quarterly flushing will be sufficient. We flushed with, like Tony and Billy had said earlier, the high volume pump, both booster pumps, and the jockey pump. That's all the pumping capacity we have at the treatment plant. And it took, I'm sure as the residents remember, it took 2 days because we didn't have enough storage to do it in 1 day. We flushed over 80,000 gallons. So we feel that going from twice a year to quarterly with that will be sufficient.
And will that help with the discoloration because there's no sediment there?
Yes, that is the goal behind it, is to flush anything that could possibly reside in the lines over time, and that way no one sees it show up in their tap.
Okay, because I mean, I've owned a condo for 21 years, and it's heartbreaking that the water is being paid for, but it really can't be used. And every so often you get surprised and it ruins your laundry. But you don't get a discount and you don't get a refund on the water, but you have to replace your clothes or, deal with it. So just the quickest it can get resolved, because, it's just not fair to people. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
Yep.
Next I have, go ahead, Tyler, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say I understand the frustration, and we are working as quick as we can to get it, get everyone the cleanest water possible.
Thank you.
And next I have Dawn McGraw. I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi. I think in that last discussion, my question may have been answered. So in the pipes running, the water pipes running from the plant to our homes, is the flushing to get organics out of the pipes as well? Do they have organics in the pipes after it leaves the plant?
I'll leave that up to Bill or Tyler to answer.
Yeah, so the sediment that you see is probably manganese oxide. Manganese is one of the more difficult naturally occurring metals. It's in all of the wells, as is iron. I mean, we have a lot more iron than we have manganese, but iron is easier to remove, and the filters do a really good job of removing the iron. We remove most of the manganese, and the manganese that leaves the manganese level that leaves the plant is below the MCL, but even a trace amount in the water, it's dissolved in the water, so it's soluble. It's not, when it leaves the plant, the water is crystal clear. All right, but what happens is over time, with the chlorine that we have in the water, that we have to have in the water as per the regulation for bacteria safety, that chlorine reacts with that soluble manganese, and it turns it into a precipitate, and it actually it makes it insoluble. So a particle is formed of manganese oxide, and that settles in the pipe. All right. So over time, whenever there's a little bit of soluble manganese in the line, it's going to come out and precipitate out. Now, this is a normal thing for water. Water mains are designed to store sediment, and the velocities in the water mains are designed to not stir up that sediment that has settled. The problem that we have in Oak Ridge is mainly been the dead ends and the seems like the consistent on off of the pressure, and I don't know if I can blame it all on the power issues, but certainly the power issues have augmented and stirred, made it harder, and also over the past, probably from 2017 to 2019, we were focused probably on moving water and removing old aged water for newer water, because the newer water has lower trihalomethanes in it. So we weren't really flushing. What we were doing is just flowing water out and replacing old with new. And we probably let the flushing, we probably got behind on flushing. So sediment was allowed to build up to a level where it was probably more sediment than there should have been. Twice a year is probably not enough in any system, quite frankly. Most municipalities, quarterly is a flushing is a norm. So, especially with the fact that we have so much iron and manganese in our raw water, I mean, that's a direct reason why we have that the dirty water. And then you add to it the dead ends, which are, I mean, a lot of people live on the dead ends. There's quite a number of linear feet of main on the dead end, and the dead end is where a lot of sediment can occur, and it's a normal thing in a big system for a water department to go out and flush dead ends on a weekly or every 2 weeks or every 3 week basis, just to keep the dead end the water in the dead end for the water users that take water off of those dead ends, the cleanest possible water.
So how soon, well, a couple of questions came to my mind, but I guess first of all, does the manganese then actually contribute to the THMs?
No.
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 Okay.
The iron and the manganese have nothing to do with it. It's just they're really just a sediment issue, and that's a separate issue. That, I mean,
they're not harmful to our health.
No.
So that was more of my concern, and you actually raised it, the thought that chlorination is done because municipalities require it. Because I've been thinking about how homeowners in this country, millions of people, homeowners have their own wells and they don't chlorinate their water. So I guess my question was, why do we chlorinate our water? I mean, that's what's creating ultimately the THMs, correct?
Yeah, it's the common. Well, yes. I mean, it's far more people die and are sick from biological contamination of drinking water than from other contaminants. Okay. So the health departments and the EPA, I mean, their primary focus is on, when they say safe drinking water, they're talking about biologically safe, and that's what chlorine does. It kills the pathogenic bacteria, and it provides. I mean, it's the primary disinfectant used in the world for drinking water.
So why don't homeowners who have wells chlorinate their water, or even small organizations who may use wells may not chlorinate.
So I, for one, do not chlorinate my well, and I don't have any treatment, and I drink my well water. We have it tested on a regular basis, and it's within the levels that are safe.
Yeah, the problem
So-
is so when you have a lot of people drinking from one source, the protection of that source becomes even more dramatic and necessary. I can tell you that if you look back over history, one of the greatest inventions man has ever done to extend the life of man was chlorine. More people were dying before chlorine was discovered and introduced to drinking water. It's just all the public health writings and things. Google, if you Google chlorination of water, you'll see how important it has been to extending life and eliminating biological deaths from drinking water.
All right, so there's a few other hands up, so I want to try to get to them before it gets too much later. So Jeff Holbrook.
Sure. Thanks, Tony. Just 2 quick points. One, real quick, and I'll email you separately on this also, but for the financial statements, I think this is a good start, but it's not exactly what we were looking for. I think we're looking for more around the timeline. This is one partial year. Looking for more around the timeline, how the bonds, when they were floated, how the funds have been spent, et cetera. So I think we got a very small piece of the picture, and we'd like to see more first. Second, to build on Simone's point, there has not been a lot of progress since 2017 in terms of fixing the water on the one hand. On the other hand, there's been a lot of development at Oakridge, and I'd love to hear Tony and Jennifer and Peter commit to no further development at Oakridge until we get this problem under control. It seems that there's just sort of this unchecked development causing increased strain on the system. A lot of what we talked about on the 17-point list has something to do with capacity, yet we continue to sort of let growth happen there unabated. So would love to have a commitment from you guys that we will see no further growth until we get this under control.
Yeah, I personally would like to see this under control before anything else is done that taps into that our water plant. Okay. Next, I have Erica.
Hi, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
So I just wanted to touch on some things that speak on behalf of some people who are here and have been emailing me and reaching out and ask some questions. So number one, a lot of folks are in agreement that until we have an engineering study by an independent engineering firm, that we won't feel confident that any of these solutions are anything more than just a Band-Aid. And while some people may agree that we do need Band-Aids in the interim, folks have overwhelmingly expressed, whether they think the water is fine or not, that they want an engineering study with alternative analysis and an independent one. And Tony, you and I have spoken about this, and it is an overwhelming demand of the folks in the water district. They want to know what's going on with the wells, with the plant, with the systems. So we have hard data and we can make good short-term, midterm, and long-term decisions. Right now, it feels like we're very reactive. And part of that is probably a function of we have limited funds, although to Jeff's point, we really don't know how much funds we have. So we never have any idea where this money is coming from. But we absolutely need this engineering study and a formal alternative analysis. So that's number one. It's a request, and we know we'll need funding for that. And we know that the town has to be behind working on getting a grant or finding us money for that. And a study could take up to 18 months. So in the meantime, these are great, short-term things that we have to do, fine. But we need to have a robust, independent, comprehensive engineering study done. That's number one. To all the folks who are on the call, if you're having these power outages, the interruptions, I urge you to report them to the New York Public Service Commission every single time they happen, and get a case number and keep reporting with that case number every time it happens. I wanted to ask, I think it was Fernando was talking about the wells. I know we have 5 wells. My understanding from the last time I toured the plant and speaking to the folks at VRI is that only 3 wells are really in use. One is just too high in iron and they can't use it. And another one is just not used. So we really only use 3 of the 5 wells at one time. So I'd love to hear if somebody can confirm or refute that. Also, looping is a best practice when you're doing developing. The first part of the development here, the Oakridge part, wasn't looped. Our understanding is the Boulder Ridge section where we live in Laurel Ridge isn't looped either, that it ends at the end of Boulder Ridge. That might be incorrect. So if it doesn't loop, then that is a problem of the planning board. The planning board should not be allowing developers to not loop these water and sanitary pipes. It's a best practice and it causes all of these problems. And so it's something I know that the town board, I believe, appoints the planning board. And I think that's something they may need education on because it's really causing us a lot of problems. And I hate to think that they're perpetuating those, you know, those poor practices of allowing developers not to loop. So that's something that I think the planning board needs to address, or you need to address with them.
Looping is reviewed by the health department, not the planning board.
So why are they allowing this to happen? When I spoke to the health department, I spoke to Wayne Schneider frequently. Well, I've spoken to him before in the past, and he said that that's a standard best practice. So why is it not being required?
Well, probably, I mean, this was built in the 1980s, so I don't know if it was the best practice then, but I agree it should be looped. But as far as looping goes, that's really, I mean, the design of the water system is 100% the health department's responsibility.
Laurel Ridge wasn't built in the 1980s.
Right, exactly.
The other phases weren't built they were, you know, so, and the new phase that's still being built right now, I don't know if that one's looped or not, but.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend.
No, I'm just saying Laurel Ridge was not built in the 1980s. I just moved in here two and a half years ago. It's brand new. So that's not accurate, at least for this phase of development. So as far as flushing goes, what is the flushing costing us? And is that like a Band-Aid, or are we supposed to be flushing monthly, quarterly? Is the system always require that? I think Bill said that most systems do. So I just wanted to understand more about the frequency and what does that cost us? Is it a drop in the bucket, or every time we flush, are we spending a lot of money on the flushing? The next question was about the water tank aeration. Speaking with Wayne Schneider at the Department of Health, he told me that you guys were going back and forth, meeting Delaware Engineering quite a bit, and that he wasn't necessarily sure that water tank aeration was a common or a best practice, and that he needed demonstrative proof that it would do anything to improve our system, and that we've been going back and forth with them on it for a really long time, and they're not satisfied that we've proved that it's going to help our system. So I kind of just wanted to understand more about that. So that was one question. And then I think the last question is if we.
Well, let me explain on the grant, the grant approval. The grant approval from New York State was New York State Health Department reviewed the tank aeration, and the grant was approved based on tank aeration. So that's just the fact that Westchester County doesn't think it's a best practice, then they need to get together with New York State Health Department because they already approved it. We're just waiting for a sign off from Westchester County.
So why do you think it's taking so long?
It always takes long with the health department. I have no idea why it takes so long.
Okay. All right, I think those are all the questions I have, and, oh wait, no, let me just double check here. I think I might have one more. So we touched on we talked about the engineering study portion of things. I think, Tony, you were going to talk about a public notification system.
Right, I have another slide left, so
Yeah,
hopefully we'll get to it.
and
Yeah.
then we've also asked for an annual report from the operating engineer, or this is another ask from the Vistance for Safe Water, from the customers of the water district, that we have some sort of an annual report from the, from either VRI or Delaware in concert, with a current status of our system. So kind of like the age and dates of in-service of the components of the system. We talked about this last time in August when we had our meeting, the longevity and life expectancy of the components. So just a standard annual report that you would expect from a plant and systems, including, you just showed us the maintenance schedules, that would be part of it. So that's great. And the detailed, financials of, like Peter pointed out, of how much do these things cost? All of these things we're talking about, what would they cost? We still don't know. We talked about it in August. That was going to be part of the report that we got, but today we got it and it still doesn't have any costs on it. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica. I noted everything, so we'll definitely follow up with you in the committee. Okay, so I'm going to move on here. Marissa and Preston, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, good evening. I'm just curious, with all of these improvements, and just for the record, I mean, you keep saying that the quality of water is really good here, but I've been a resident for 6 years, and when I moved in here, I knew that I needed to have bottled drinking water. I did not know that that included needing to have bottled water for my animals as well, because animals cannot drink the water. My dog has had severe reactions to the chemicals that you're using in the water. So that is a cost to us homeowners that we have to incur, and that's totally not fair for us. But I do know that we have also had issues with our appliances. And we always get told, oh, it's just the hard water. Is this all of these improvements, is that gonna help us with keeping our appliances more than 2 or 3 years? I know dishwashers are affected. I know that we just recently had a major issue with our washer that was brand new. Is that stuff going to be, our appliances going to be lasting longer with these improvements?
I can't speak to that, Bill. I don't know. I know that typically hard water does cause...
The automated, when we just automated the pH, right? The pH adjustments. So by automating the pH adjustments, we won't have a wide swing of pHs, and the higher pHs certainly increase the hardness of the water. I mean, the water is not hard. The water is highly corrosive when it comes out of the ground. So what we actually have to do is we have to condition it with a chemical to bring the water up to a pH of 7.2. So we actually add hardness to the water. Okay. In the past, there was no automation on that management. It was a manual thing. They would take a pH, and if it was low, they would increase the hardness, and if it was high, they'd lower it. Now that's done automatically.
And that's done as of this year, right? After the SCADA system, correct. Right?
That's correct. So I could see where we were overdosing hardness in the past. That's a possibility. That's inherent in a manual system like that. So I would think that the automation on the pH adjustment will certainly provide a more consistent pH and hardness level in the water. So.
Okay, and then the other thing that I'm just kind of concerned about is that I know you guys have allowed, or there's a Shell station going in front of Oakridge, and they are going to have an automatic, the car wash there. Will that car wash be tapping into our system as well?
The car wash will.
The car wash will. So then I need to echo what everybody else is saying, that I don't think that in any way, shape, or form should we be moving forward with any car wash or any further development on Oakridge property until we, the people who are currently here and have been here and paying for our water, get clean water. I mean, we really shouldn't be doing anything. And that is a major concern. I know that there was not a lot of time for people to get together about the car wash. I know I didn't hear about it until after the meeting. I mean, that's just like a huge issue for people.
Right.
At what point can we discuss that? Is that something that needs to be discussed at a town board meeting? Is that?
Yeah, unfortunately, Marissa, I mean, this is something that, before I got involved, the car wash was already approved. It was approved by the planning board. I don't know if there's any way to go back on that, but if you could certainly write to the planning board, the town board. And, but again, I think it's beyond our ability to stop it at this point. But we can look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they approved the car wash. I thought that was the stupidest thing I ever thought of. Could have, and using our water line.
Yeah.
Like,
So next I have Harenstein.
One quick.
Yeah.
Corey? Mute? Unmute? Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Can somebody explain to me what the legal structure is of the water district and who the officers and directors are?
Well, the town board are the commissioners of the water district.
Okay. And what does that mean, commissioners?
That means
What is their responsibility?
we have
I'm looking
oversight.
at it.
Yeah, we have oversight over the plant.
Okay. All right. But as far as legal ownership, I ask you, who owns the water district? What would you answer?
The town.
Yeah.
The water district is an independent governmental entity that, I mean, it stands alone. It's not funded by anything but those that live in that district.
So then the town has no responsibility for any maintenance, improvements, anything whatsoever?
Not even that. The town legally cannot contribute to the water district or the sewer district.
So how about, does the sewer district have officers and directors?
The members of the town board are the commissioners, which means they are responsible for the everything having to do with its operation and funding.
Okay, so if something went wrong that people thought should not have gone wrong, do they have any liability?
The district carries all the liability. I'm not a lawyer. I've been doing this for so long. I've heard these questions before. So.
But one of the problems here that people have brought up is lack of accountability. And my question was, who's ultimately accountable?
Yeah.
And you're telling me it's the commissioner, the town board. The town board as an entity is ultimately responsible for for this.
That's correct.
And then a statement just following up on what some other people have said. You know, we're using a Band-Aid approach on a very long-term problem's been around for a while, and why we haven't really gone further into finding alternate solutions, I don't know. But
money.
Money? Well.
Money.
Okay, so what are you talking? So how much? So
in 2007, about $1 million were invested in the system to take it from a complete horrendous condition to get it to where it could produce potable water and meet the Part 5 requirements. It was considered
Where
a
did this money
temporary
come from?
system. It was considered a temporary system when that was done. And
Yeah.
our recommendation at the time was to research and to fund connection to Norwich
Norwalk.
Water.
Norwalk.
Norwalk Water, yes,
Where?
Norwalk Water.
Yeah.
And the plant was built to last about 20 years.
So you said it cost too much money. Give me a number. What was that? How much was too much? What was the number?
It was more than $5 million at the time.
Yeah.
And the board elected not to do that.
And where did the $1 million come from?
The district borrowed it.
And so the ratepayers are paying it back.
The ratepayers are the only ones legally that can pay it.
So what I'm getting at is, $1 million versus $5 million, $1 million for
A Band-Aid.
Well,
versus $5 million forever.
But at the time, though, you were under an order from the DEC to upgrade the wastewater plant, and that was probably a $4 or $5 million upgrade. So there was no way that they felt that the users could afford both upgrades. That's
not what we're talking about now. We're not talking.
Yep.
Now
Yep.
we have an opportunity to do it the right way now. Okay, maybe. So who is undertaking that responsibility to go out and look at alternatives, and then look at the costs, and then take it to the users, the ratepayers, and let them decide?
Well, that's what we're working on. So this is part of that exercise. So we have this list. We're going to put together a plan for the critical items that will get the current plant to a level that is acceptable to deliver quality, continuous quality water. And we're looking at an option to bypass the wells themselves and start with cleaner water source by talking to Aquarian Water and bringing in water from Norwalk.
What's the target date to complete this analysis?
We have our first call with Aquarian. The ball is in their court to get back to us. They were targeting October for this first initial meeting.
We haven't even had a discussion with them yet.
We had 2 discussions over the phone with them.
Well, may I just suggest that we make this a priority and not let us sit here 2 years from now saying we're working on it.
Yeah, it's
working on it
that,
doesn't cut it anymore. I'm sorry.
Right, and yeah, so I'm taking this on, and I've initiated the contacts to Norwalk or Aquarian Water. The last time that was done, to Bill's point, was 2007. Bill, I think you said.
No, it was 2003, 4 or 5 in that range.
Okay.
Needs a little updating. I understand.
Yeah. So we're working on it. So we'll and definitely if you have any questions, just reach out to the.
But we need to. Communication is less than satisfactory in my opinion. So we need to be told what's going on, what the dates are, what's happening, updates, etc. Not just when we call a meeting, but on a regular basis.
Right, and that was part of the reason, one of the main reasons for setting up the committee. That includes Erica, Robin, Jeff, and the property managers, etc. All right, I have another.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Calling user 1. I'm asking you to unmute.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, good evening. This is Pamela Nathy in Oakridge. I'm curious about these dead-end loops. Could you tell me how many there are and where they are?
Yeah.
It's on that document, which if you're looking at the screen, number 4.
Yeah, the screen is really not very clear on YouTube. I'm not on Zoom.
Oh, you're on YouTube.
Tony, that's basically all of Oakridge.
Okay.
So we're all of Oakridge. You mean each street is a dead end? Is that what we're saying?
I guess there's a dead end. Well, Tyler or Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a dead end on every street? Is that correct?
Looking at number 4, those are the streets in Oakridge.
Loophole dead ends, Laurel Ridge and Stone Meadow Drive, Fox Run and Bitter Street Lane. So those are the intersections? Okay,
Yes.
Maplewood Drive, okay.
So each street is a dead end. Well, in light of that, it would really seem that what you've said about the sedimentation problems, that really this hydrant flushing should be more regular. And I think I repeat what someone else has said about this already. So I don't want to waste time here, but is this an expensive project? I mean, what kind of numbers are we talking about?
Yeah, we don't have numbers yet, but in further reading this description, it talks about 2 dead ends which result in many of the dirty water complaints, and that's the dead end on Laurel Ridge to the dead end on Stone Meadow Drive.
Okay, so is there anything that could be done for those users now?
Yeah, so that's the flushing hydrants that we're planning on installing.
So even if we don't do all of the streets, could we at least do those on a more regular basis?
Yeah, so we need to look into this a little further and make a determination as to where they need to be done, but that's correct. We could probably start with those
The
2.
other thing I would like to point out is that when we did have the meetings on the proposed car wash, we did have a petition with over 180 signatures from our very limited user base that objected to this, and the planning board went ahead anyway. So I don't know at this point if there is anything that can be done, but I would like to add my objection to this.
Okay.
And that's really all I have to say right now. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I know Peter Parsons, you were trying to jump in. I'm asking you to unmute. Peter? Okay, Peter. I've asked you to unmute. Okay, so I'll chime in anytime you want, Peter. Lisa's iPhone, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Lisa's iPhone.
Yeah, I was just trying to make the same comment about the car wash. I also would like to just understand how and why a planning board would have approved.
Yeah, I don't know, Lisa. I can't discuss the car wash option here or decision here because I don't know the background behind that decision. That's
Well, I think we would all would like to hear an answer from Peter Parsons then.
Yeah, if Peter wants to chime in, Peter, are you there? If you have anything to say regarding the car wash, asking you to unmute.
Planning board.
It's the planning board that made that decision, but.
Which is a planning board is appointed by
The town board, correct.
Yeah, okay. So Peter Parsons, who represents the town board, should be able to answer the question.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the plan, what I can say is that the planning board, they make decisions based on what is,
Well, they certainly didn't make a decision based on what was beneficial to the people who live here.
Yeah, that I can't answer that if that's, but I'll tell you what, if you want to email the town board and we'll respond, we'll discuss it. We'll take it up with the planning board and ask them for the criteria that led to that decision.
And the other way to make some changes here is when we all vote for the next town supervisor.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna move on. Andrea Rendo, I am asking you to unmute.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrea Rendo. I live in South Salem. Perhaps if my opponent, Mr. Sclaren, was here, who sits on the planning board, he could have answered your question for you.
Yeah, he wasn't invited.
It was open to the public. It was on the website.
It was, and I think I said for anyone that's in the water district. So I wouldn't expect him to join, but that's fine.
Well, I find this topic very interesting, but that being put aside, it's my understanding that the system that was put in place originally was intended to expand with the development of Oakridge and the surrounding areas. And for one reason or another, that never happened. So all of you were sitting there with a system that's greatly overextended. And through the years, It appears as though they're just throwing solutions kind of like spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, and nothing really sticks. But something that Tony said grabbed my interest. That being the meeting or the starting of conversations with Aquarian Water out of Norwalk, Tony. And I'm just throwing this out there as an idea that I came across, but wouldn't it be interesting if you were able to work out an agreement with Aquarian where they are able to pipe water into Oakridge, Laurel Ridge, and
That's what we're discussing.
right,
That's
but
exactly it.
wouldn't it be fabulous if that could also be extended to include places like Copia and all the other side of the street as well? And if we incorporate other places in the town, issues with restaurants and seating and things like that would improve. And
I'm in agreement there. Yep,
you
absolutely.
increase the district, you
Right.
increase the number of individuals contributing to the district.
Right.
And and maybe when you start looking for grants, that would expand the possibility that we could qualify for additional money in grants. I don't know. I mean, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, that's all in play. That's the whole idea, is to bring a main up 123, tap in the commercial districts and the other
It
businesses.
would be
That's
wonderful for the whole area as well as the residents that are on this call.
Absolutely.
There was another point I wanted to make. Oh, I heard one of the gentlemen speaking about, who's responsible, who pays for the water district. And one of the things that I found out when I was learning about this problem was that there's a water district and there's a sewer district, right? And they're related, but they're not really related, because the water district, everyone is built on usage, right? Oops, Mr. Parsons, where'd you go? It's built on usage. So everybody's got a water meter, you pay based on usage.
Correct.
But your sewer district is based on assessed value of your home or your unit. So it's a whole
correct.
different pricing scheme. So I found that very interesting. So just to, answer your question, just realize that, what the tax is for the sewer district is quite different than the fees that you pay in the water district for usage. So,
Yep, those are all facts, Sandra. That's correct.
all right. Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Peter, you're on. Peter Parsons. You're unmuted now.
Get out of here. Somebody running against you.
Peter Parsons. Okay, we'll skip Peter. There's two more questions, but what I want to do is just go, because we're running. It's almost 2 hours into this meeting. I just want to finish up on the presentation that I have here. We went through that list. We went through the 17 items.
Maybe there's term limits.
So I'm going to move on back to the presentation here. Hold on a second. Let's see if I can, okay. So and I think this is the last page. Yes, this is the last page. So regarding communications on notifications, which Erica touched on before, currently the way it works is there are email lists, there's posted flyers. Mike Lombardo, who works for the management company, and someone is making a lot of noise. Hopefully, if they can mute themselves. I don't know who that is. I think that may be. Let's see. Okay. That was Phil Pine. Okay, I muted him. Sorry, Phil. So yeah, email lists and posted flyers are managed by the property manager. There's a New York alert for the sewer district. It's currently being used by VRI because it is a requirement by DEC for all sewer districts to send out alerts in case of any, wastewater discharge, for example. The town of Lewisboro does have an option with New York Alert that includes a Lewisboro option. So when you sign up, you can click on the Lewisboro button, and you will receive alerts for Lewisboro. I've spoken to Phil Derenbacher over at VRI, the possibility of having them tap into that system as well. So I have to find out how we can provide access to it so that if there is an urgent alert related to the water district, VRI would be able to issue that alert. And, you know, so we would need to have, and this is all based on subscription. So folks that want to receive these alerts need to go on to the this website. And again, this document will be online on our town webpage. And you can download it and you can go to these links for registering. But we will, ideally, I see us doing more of a promotion campaign to the water district to have people sign up for the service, and then we can start using it. The other option is the community email. I'd like for folks to register for the Lewisboro community email. My plan is to have any Oakridge related alerts, activities, meeting notices to go out via the community email. So there's the link for the subscription. The town website, where, for example, this meeting was put under the news and announcements on the main page. And we created, we had a page for the Oakridge, it was called Oakridge/Conan Valley Water District, but it was buried somewhere else where difficult to find. It's now under the community. If you click on the community menu, there's a pull down, and now there's a Oakridge Water/Sewer District page. And you'll find some documents that were just placed there today, including some of the financial reports and any other documents, including this presentation. I'll make sure to that it gets posted there. So that's the end of the presentation. And what I'll do is I'll just go back and see this again. A few more hands up. So I'll ask Noel and Dave to unmute.
Yes, hi. I just have a quick question. Since a lot of these problems seem to be due to the frequent power surges that occur, I'm wondering if our critical equipment, the pumps and all, have battery backup. I mean, something as simple as that would prevent going down.
So I could speak to that a little bit. So that we do have backup generators. So with the power outage we had yesterday morning, was it? Yeah, yesterday morning. Yeah. The generators kicked in, the plant operated normally. So the concern is, you know, if there is a situation, where power goes out and, you know, the pumps stay, you know, the water continues to flow out of the mains, and then the pump is turned on, and then you get that hammer effect and it causes turbidity in the system. So hopefully that's not going to be the case anymore with the frequent flushing and clearing of the sediment in the mains. But I can, you know, maybe Tyler, if you have anything else to say about that, or Bill.
Yeah, so it was more like Tony was saying, the backup generator powers both the water and wastewater plants and all its equipment, pumps, etc. The issue was on like those 3 to 5 second blips where the power wasn't off long enough for the transfer switch to transfer power to the generator, making it more of a seamless transition. Just kind of blipped out quick, the pressure will dip, then AC power is restored, and then it will come back on and cause that slight disruption in pressure. But as far as when the power goes out, like yesterday morning, our equipment comes on automatically, and everything runs like normal.
Thanks, Tyler. Next question is from Robin Leganzowski.
Hi.
Go ahead, Robin. Okay, we can't hear you, Robin. Okay, I'm going to move on to Erica. Erica, you have another question?
Thank you, Tony. So regarding communications, for the flushing, just as an example, that's something that we need to have good communication on, because those folks that live in Laurel Ridge and Oak Ridge, at least the residential, I don't know about the commercial folks, but the residential folks, they get an email from Plaza Realty because we are managed by Plaza Realty. Michael Lombardo was on the call tonight. But as I've told you before, Tony, the folks in Conant Valley are not managed by Plaza Realty. And so they're kind of like
Right.
the red-headed stepchild, and they have to either get contacted via, a piece of mail in their mailbox or a sign at the end of the road or something. That's not okay. In this
Yeah.
in 2020, the town needs to take responsibility for that and send an email, an active communication, not passive, an active communication to folks who are customers that says there's going to be a flushing on these days at these times.
Right.
Coming from Michael Lombardo is just not sufficient at Plaza Realty. It needs to come
Right.
from the town.
Yeah, I think, and correct me if,
Really.
yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, but I think with the Flushing, at least the August 26th one, I'm not sure about the 9/16 one, flyers were delivered to all the mailboxes, including Conant Valley. And
Correct.
and
So
also, yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and also I do have, thanks to Jeff Holbrook, I have a list of emails. I don't know if it's all inclusive. So for example, for this meeting, I did email everyone in Conant Valley, but you're right. We do need to have, and I think the way to do it is maybe to have folks all sign up for the community email, and we can do an email blast from there. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, no, just to speak on what you were talking on before. So yes, we actually just made signs to that we keep at the plant to put out whenever there's flushing, and then we hand delivered notices to every mailbox, and that's what we do to try to convey the flushing to every resident. I've also dealt a little bit in the past with water districts that have a sort of a blackboard system. That could also be a good option as well to give, would allow us to give a message to a lot of people at once. So that way everyone's on the same page as well, like accompanied with either an email blast or something similar.
Right, and Blackboard is similar. That's a text messaging, right? Text or email. So that'd be similar to like
I believe
New York
you
Alert.
can access it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it still requires everyone to subscribe to it. So like New York
Correct. Yeah,
Alert.
they'd have to be on board.
Yeah. And so we'll my hope is that folks will sign up for New York Alert, and we'll post flyers. We'll hand out flyers on how to do the registration, but it is on our website as well. And hopefully, as we spread the word, people will register, and then we'll both for the community email and the New York Alert, and we'll get as much notices as needed out for flushing, for meetings, for anything else. Okay, Robin, one more time, go ahead.
Okay,
This
sorry.
is your last question.
Yeah, it's, okay. If we're gonna have meetings like this and get it done, people that can answer questions should be in the meetings. So if Richard Sclaren is on the planning board and he happens to be running, you'd think that he'd want to be here to answer questions.
Yes,
No one-
so let me just clarify, this meeting was not to discuss the car wash specifically. It was to discuss the water plant and the current
Yeah, I
activities.
understand
Right.
that, but obviously it's a concern of the residents of Oakridge. And, Phil Pine isn't the problem here. He's wants the water to be fixed and to help.
Right.
And we need to incorporate the town involved with getting the needs of everyone met, because he's an important part of this town. He's the one that keeps our town center running.
Right.
And it's misguided to think that the car wash is the problem. It's the town board managing these types of things and keeping the water clean and keeping the businesses going and generating revenue for it. And why wouldn't the people at Conant Valley know about this? Are they here? Do they all know about this meeting? Like, we need
Yes,
to have
like
everybody on board.
I just said, I emailed all the emails that I had for the Conant Valley residents.
Okay, well, if we put flyers in the mailboxes that for other things, we should put flyers in the mailboxes for these meetings, because it's just going to keep getting dragged out and dragged out and dragged out. We need to like come to a,
Right.
go hard on it, get
Right.
everything done. Now we have to wait to hear from the planning board and wait to hear, like, it has to be more
Well,
organized.
the planning
And-
board was not, again, that was not on the agenda, so, yeah.
But obviously it's an
Had they-
issue with, it's a water issue, and
Right,
Tony, you're doing an awesome job, but you like can't do everything alone.
right.
And Peter couldn't even answer the question that was being asked. I mean, we need people to be involved. We can't just, he's not here, oh, it wasn't his fault, it wasn't that, it's just not organized, and it's not you. And thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, yes. And you all know how to reach, myself and the rest of the planning board, the town board. So please email us any concerns or any other questions. And we will address it to the extent possible. So I think that's all I had. And yeah, so I think, in terms of next steps, we're going to go back. Erica, thanks for your input. I did record here your questions and recommendations, and I'll follow up on those, and then we'll schedule another session to get together.
Tony, I hate to be, pushy, but
Go ahead, Robert. Okay.
we need some kind of time frame.
Yeah, we'll work on that. Yes.
I
mean,
know, but that's all we
again,
seem to be
so-
hearing is we'll work
Yeah,
on it,
so-
and it's just regurgitated into the next meeting.
Right. So we in the presentation, I talked about short-term versus long-term. So short-term, the important thing are the flushing hydrants. So we're going to put those in, right?
Okay, what's short-term mean?
We're working on it now. We need to size it. We need to get bids, and then hopefully, when I was talking earlier, we talked about like November timeframe, possibly. I know that's next month already, but
Yeah, we'll
we're gonna
need
work on it.
final approval for the flushing hydrants from the Westchester County Department of Health, and then the flushing will be immediate, like I said earlier. So
Yeah, so that's the other variable, right? The health department. So hopefully there'll be, but I understand, Robin. Yeah, dates are important, scheduling is important, and I will strive to do my best to put all that together.
I mean, you're doing a great job. It's just, in general, everybody's frustrated, and we keep
Yeah.
hearing the same thing over and over.
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand. It's been a long time, so yeah. Okay. So unless there's any other, hold on a second. I'm getting messages. I think it was,
Hi, Tony.
oh, Peter, yes.
I'm sorry, but there was a town emergency and
I'm
I
just-
had to go in and work with our police chief.
I'm just seeing that. Yeah, I got a message from
That's,
the chief.
that's why I quit the meeting.
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay.
If anybody's left, the planning board cannot change the law. They can only implement the law. So if the filling station car wash was legal, then they have no real option but to approve it. That's it. Okay, I'll leave.
Thank you, Peter.
Tony, are you out of the meeting now?
No, I'm still here. We're still on.
Okay.
I am here. Yes.
All right, I'm gonna make friends again with Dave, and
Yeah.
I'll talk to you in the morning.
Okay.
Thanks.
Just fine,
Bye.
Tim. Okay. Thanks. All right, everyone. Actually, well, there's a couple of hands, so I'm gonna Marissa, go ahead. Just a couple more.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about transparency with our town board. We talk about transparency with everybody. And to just sit here and listen to Mr. Parsons sit here and say that really ultimately what's done is done is very discouraging.
Mhm.
I don't have a choice but to pay my water bill every month. Quarterly. And I pay quite a bit of money on water. I am so discouraged that there's absolutely no accountability from the town. It's not just me, it's our entire district. So if this means all of us showing up at town board meetings and showing up at planning board meetings and writing letters, we know that the town board has a very hard time responding to emails. I hear it all the time. This is such an awful thing for you guys to just continue to push aside.
Yeah, we're not pushing it aside, Marissa, so we're.
But it has been, it's been
it
pushed
has
aside
been.
for 20 years, and I'm glad, Tony,
Correct.
we are all, everybody is praising you because yes, you're the only one that has stepped up. I hope that every single person that's on this call tonight listens to who was here. Make a good choice when it comes time for the election. Let's get better people in the town board because this has got to stop. This is water. We're not in Flint, Michigan. We are still complaining though, as if we are in Flint, Michigan.
Right.
I would love for you to come and spend, I will give my entire place up so you can come and spend a weekend in my home and you can tell me that my water is drinkable, that my children should have this water, my children should bathe in this water. This is an absolute disgusting mess. And this is the town's mess. Soon it's going to become an issue because there's going to be a class action lawsuit because people deserve clean water.
Right.
I'm
in total agreement, Marissa.
It's unfortunate that you need to go back and tell them that people are this angry, but that's where we're at. We are angry. We want this fixed. And yes, Band-Aids, yes, I get it. You are working your butt off more than anybody on that town board, and it's not fair. If that's the case, you should have been the supervisor.
Well, thank you. I'll think about that. I don't know if I want that job, but thank you very much, Marissa. And yes, and feel free. I am very curious to follow what's going on, what the quality of the water is like from, there has been changes. We have, new talent over at the water plant, folks that are really attentive to the situation. And I'm really hoping that moving forward, we're not going to see any more.
I hope so, because our town cannot afford to pay a lawsuit, and that's where we're headed. 20-something years, it's not acceptable. It's completely unacceptable. We have businesses, we have a Chinese restaurant, we have a pizza place, we have little places that use that water because I know that they're not using bottled water to make our food, which is precisely why a lot of people don't go there. So this is really, truly an issue.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marissa. Okay, one more question, Elio.
Hi, Tony. Full transparency, obviously I don't live in Oakridge and I'm not a customer of the water district, but I do work in the units and I know on many occasions the residents have told me if I was going near the sink, don't use the water. And so I just think it's wrong that this has been going on for so long. And my other question is that why isn't the whole town board in on this very important topic, especially Dan Welsh, who's our environmental guy? It seems to me like it's not important to the town board. And I know it's important to you, Tony, but it doesn't give the impression that it is important enough that everyone from the board is in on this meeting. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elio. I mean, I am the liaison to the water district. So at the least of course I need to be on it, and I hosted this and set it up, and Jen is on as well. She didn't have to be, but yeah, it's we try to divide and conquer. But thanks for your comments.
Fair enough. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Elio. All right, so with that said, anything else from anyone before I shut down the meeting? And this is going to be on YouTube. I mean, it is streamed now, but it will be then uploaded. So if anyone wants to go back and look at it, and I'll post the presentation. Again, there's Oakridge Water under the community section of the town website. You can go to that link, and there's a Oakridge Water and Sewer District. I think I have, there's all the documents will be posted there. Erica, it looks like she wants to ask another question. Go ahead, Erica.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. And yes, the presentation that you circulated today, all of the documents, if you could post them there,
yes,
that would be
we'll
great, because we'd like to be able to look at them. And I know
Okay.
Jeff is really interested in talking about the finances.
Yes. And maybe what we could do is we'll have a committee meeting together with Leo and to specifically address the financing, and then
do a deep dive on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Thanks,
You're
everyone.
welcome. All right, thanks everyone for coming out. Take care.
Thanks, Tony.
You're welcome. Bye, Robin. Take care.
Okay, let's leave.